In our last video on the ACT Enterprise Access Control System, we spoke about the inbuilt features that can directly help you in your legal and your social obligations both now and in the future in relation to COVID-19. To quickly recap that video, we spoke about the 5 pillars of COVID-19 that are physical distancing, integrated biometrics including temperature scanning, visitor management, remote management, and hygiene and sanitation, and how the ACT Enterprise features can be used to manage these issues. With social distancing, by using the area counting and pre-booking system to manage the amount of people in a particular area. With the integrated biometrics, by introducing temperature sensing biometric card readers with face mask detection to check the health of an individual before allowing them entry. With visitor management, introducing a way to control and report visitors on site, to reduce and manage when and where a visitor can go. Also with remote management, ensuring that security and management staff have a way to monitor and program the system remotely. As with hygiene and sanitation, by introducing touchless readers and exit devices to minimize physical contact with the devices, and a means to automate reports to enable cleaning staff to effectively ensure high traffic areas are cleaned correctly. Hi, I'm Jeff Rushton from Alarm Corp, and today I will show you a quick unboxing of the ACT Enterprise system from Vanderbilt Industries. Then run through a quick, brief sort of guide to the installation and programming of the system. Today's video is really only meant to give you an overall understanding of the product without getting too bogged down with too much detail. Alarm Corp though do run regular training courses throughout the year to give you a good understanding of the product, installation and operation requirements. We can conduct these courses at your premises or ours, really depending on the amount of attendees and the time that you have available. Talk to your Alarm Corp rep for further details. In the box, we have the ACT Pro 1500 controller and a set of instructions. It has some screw terminals in and a removable lid. So this controller requires 12 volt DC and a control a single door with an entry and an exit reader if required. Outputs 2 and 3 are pre-programmed and can be used for things like interlock. Auxiliary 1 can be used for fire override. DC is our door contact input and PB is for our exit device or push button. We also have a 485 bus to daisy chain additional low-cost controllers to this IP controller. Up to an additional 31 doors can be connected through these two RS485 ports. It's also possible to daisy chain multiple IP controllers as well through the controller network connection. Here is our 12 volt input and input to mains fail. We have a break glass monitoring input and a tamper input. Our dip switches are used for either to control DHCP or a static IP, and it can also default the system. We have 2 IP ports, so we can daisy chain controllers if required. And lastly, we have our main relay, that's for our door output, and the auxiliary relay can be programmed to operate a variety of events.
Okay, let's have a quick look at some of the features of the ACT Enterprise system. It's a very intuitive and easy to use, and it scales from a single door, if you wish, up to 4,000 doors in total. ACT Enterprise is a role-based platform, and it has different modules dependent on the license key that has been applied and the user that is currently logged in. The functionality available to each user is specific to their own needs, enhancing the overall security of their system. And the system, as we've said, is scalable from 1 to 4,000 doors. The software has a limit of 100 doors for the free version, and if you buy the software, you get the modules, the expandability up to 4,000 doors in total. The ACT Pro 1500 is the IP door controller, as we've discussed earlier. It supports all of the reader types available, as well as OSDP. On board, it can store 60,000 users, 1,000 user groups, 5,000 log events, and can support up to an additional 31 ACT Pro 100E controllers, which we'll look at next, as well as 4 I/O modules and also 4 ASA Abloy Aperio wireless hubs. The ACT Pro 100E is a single door RS485 connected controller. So with pretty much all of the same features as the IP controller, but it's connected via RS485 to the IP door controller. And we'll see how the topology of this system works in a couple of seconds. The only other module that's available for this system is the IOM, or the input-output module. It too is connected by RS485 to your IP door controller. It has 8 supervised inputs and 8 relay outputs. Up to 4 of these modules can be connected per IP door controller, and these input outputs can be used for lift control. So if we have a look at how the most basic ACT Enterprise system would operate, every door would have an IP door controller. It's connected to the LAN. It's obviously connected to the door, the reader, the door strike, the egress button, the door input, the break glass station is all connected through each controller on this model. It's probably the best way to do it, but it's probably not the most economical. By utilizing the 100Es, we can daisy chain up to 31 additional doors off that one IP door controller. So in this case, we have the one connection to our LAN, our one IP door controller, but we can now have up to an additional 31 additional doors by using the low-cost 100E module. The only other component to this system is the software. So now we're going to have a relatively quick look at how the software works, how you manage it, how it looks, and the options you have. But please, this is not an in-depth review or instruction by any means. So let's have a quick look. Okay, when we install the software, on the server it will install these 6 icons: ACT Install, Manage, Monitor, Site Editor, and site map monitor, as well as the server client, which is only on the server. Let's have a quick look at the server client interface first. We're presented with a live system which shows us that the service is running and that the system is connected to the database. It also lists our controllers and our readers, and a list of some of the more recent events of the system. From there we can go and have a look at the database, purge some records, change the database, do a variety of database management functions. By default, this system backs up a full copy of itself at 2 o'clock every morning and saves the last 7 days worth of backups here. Database users is showing us who is currently logged on to the system and on what computer. We can see here that the same user is logged on twice on 2 different PCs. We can also upgrade the firmware from our controllers by this menu. This shows our registration if we have purchased the software and what features are available. As I said, the free software is good for 100 doors, but without some of the integration that's shown here. We can close this now. This will just run in the background as a service. So we're going to have a look now at the act install. This is where the integrator will set up the system initially. So once we log on, we're presented with our main menu. We can see a list of the current audit trail within the system and a list of all of our doors and modules that are connected. The system allows us for a very easy way to add devices, and that's done through the auto discover function. From there, it will go out and search the network for any new IP door controllers, I/O modules, or the door modules. Present us with a list of all of the new ones that it has found and gives us the option of adding those into the system. If we have a look at the doors that we've added, you can see that I have 2 doors here, one in the showroom, and also it does support the ASA Abloy Aperio wireless lock products, which I have one added onto this system as well. From the doors, you can see the variety of functions that we can do. We can adjust all the timers for the relays, the outputs, door ajar time, etc., etc. What functions that are available on that particular door release buttons, pin codes, interlock functions, anything that we want on that door, we ensure we have enabled here. How we want the auxiliary relay to fire. So this is the list of options available for that auxiliary relay on each of the controllers. As well as the auxiliary relay, we have those outputs 2 and 3 that can also be assigned functions within the system. And what functions from that door do we want to be reported back to our software? So a simple checkbox to enable or disable any of those functions. So if we look at our wireless door, the functions available for that door are listed here also. If we go in and have a look at our controller, we can see the setup and the time zone for that particular door. We can see all of the doors that are connected. So in this case we have our showroom and we have our Aperio door connected. We can have up to 4 Aperio hubs on our system. And this is where you would enter those details. We can also have up to 4 I/O modules. So you can see that we have 1 I/O module enabled on our system here. Various other functions relating to the controller, as well as we can see the full capabilities of a particular controller from this menu in how many users, time zones, audit trails, etc. that are available for this particular controller. From our I/O modules, we can change the name, see which particular controller it is connected to. We also can connect a variety or a number of NVRs on the system. The system currently supports Milphone, Vigil, the HIC and Avensis recorders. Once we add those, we can now add the cameras associated with those NVRs, and we can now associate that camera with one or any or all of the doors that we have connected. So a lot of our doors here have got the majority of cameras connected. Typically, you would probably find you'd only have 1 or 2 cameras per door. So we can list all of our cameras and see which doors we have connected to them. Act Enterprise also supports the Kone lift configuration. We don't have that enabled here, but you can connect that on. We can also configure our card formats and configure custom card formats to match the cards and technology that's used on our site. Act Enterprise also integrates in with Vanderbilt's SPC intrusion panels, of which we have 3 panels connected to this system. So all of the inputs on the alarm panel, as well as the areas, can be controlled or operated from the Act Enterprise system. And if you did have any biometric readers, they too can be connected and operated from here. From the install menu as well, we can also see a couple of status and snapshot screens which show us every door, every input, every output, every function that the system has, so we can see on one screen the status of everything on the system. From our settings menu, there's a variety of things that we can adjust and set up. We have a very quick look at the various functions here as we go down. We can set up emails. So we've set up our email server, our administrator, and we can send different events at different times to that individual. So notifications on troubles and on door states that can be sent on various days at a particular time of the day. From here, we can also access any of those other clients that we have installed. So in our case, the next one, or where most of the work is done, is via the Act Manage application. So we're going to run that now and have a very brief look at what we can do there also. So from our home screen, a bunch of common functions that we could normally do. We could list all of our users. We can add a user, add some cards, add user group, door group, add a time zone directly. Let's have a look though at our live system. So from the live system, we can see the audit trail of what's happening currently on our system here. We can see a list of all of the doors that we have enabled and a list of all of the most recent events and alarms on this screen. As we scroll down, we can see that we have various outputs that are fired. We've got zones on our SPC panel that have been tripped, and we can see a list of access granted messages from various card holders. You'll also notice a camera icon next to the doors and next to some events. This means that there has been a video event stored with that particular event. So in our case, with our doors, we can see live coverage of the cameras that we have associated with that particular door. Here we've got 6 cameras connected. That's probably not typical for a particular door. It would only be the camera associated with that door. We can also see next to our access event that we have recorded history of that event. Unfortunately, the door is out of shot of camera view, but you can see me there grabbing the card, going over to the door and presenting my card at that reader. Okay, under the Manage tab, the majority of our user and door programming is done here. We can see a list of our users. Let's go into one that's been properly programmed. See, it's enabled, it's valid, and it's connected to the full access group, which is all doors in our case. We can see that we can associate a picture as well as a signature with that individual. And we can print a card based on a template that's stored in here as well. Basic details: name, email address, mobile. Those two are important for functions we'll see later on. Our user group that the person has got access to and what doors and times that they're allowed. The card number that we programmed in, a validity period if there is one. If we are using Bluetooth readers, which we are here, we have a Bluetooth tab, and it enables us to send an invite out to the email address of that individual, so that can be added to the app, and then the mobile app can use that phone with Bluetooth through enabled Bluetooth readers. We can display the QR code that was sent off to that user as well from here. Or if the user is next to us when we've added them, they can just scan this QR code and we'll add the credential into the Bluetooth app that they previously downloaded. Or of course we can email that QR code directly to them, of which then they can do the same thing and enable Bluetooth on their mobile. So a great way that Bluetooth is integrated within the ACT enterprise software. 10 user programmable fields. I've only added one for Rego. Any additional options that you need for that particular user can be checked here. Our access to the doors, which doors, and our privileges that we have can be viewed here under door plans and extra rights. So with the Recents Event tab, you can view all the activity for that particular card holder for the last X number of events. Any event that has a camera associated with it, we can now view that recorded video for that access event. Our View Doors menu brings up a list of all of the doors that that card holder has access to and the time periods or time zones for that particular door. Our user group assigns a group of card holders to our door groups, and our door groups associate doors with time zones. We can see here that we can associate our card template. So when I go to print out a ID card for that particular user, it will pick the template associated with that group. Again, for the user group, we can view what doors and what time zones are associated with that user. Very similar idea with the door groups. The door groups associate doors with time zones. So from here, we can look at a particular group and see what doors and time zones are associated with that door group. Act Enterprise also gives us the ability of having a base site and tenants within that site. We can set up tenants to manage their own cards and their own doors within a system. If we look at a door, we can see all of the features associated with that door, any time zones associated with additional features also of that door, what reports back from that door to our software, and any floor groups if we're using elevators within our system. Time zones. Each time zone has a number of start and stop times for different days of the week and for different holiday types. Holidays, we have 10 different holiday types, of which we simply click on the date, give it a holiday type, and hit save. With database users, these are people that have access to operate or program the system. Each user that can be added can be associated with a role, which automatically associates different functions that they can or they can't do with their individual logon. They can be changed or updated from here and then saved. One of the very useful features of this software is our rules engine. Our rules engine allows us to create a graphical display that relates to events and outputs that we want to function. In this particular rule that we've done, when the main entry door on our SPC panel is active, it will turn on our pod lights. So a very simple illustration on how a rule functions. Let's look at a more complicated rule that has a variety of events, functionality, outputs, and timing. So in this case, when that main door is active, those pod lights turn on for 5 minutes. When the detector in the showroom is active, it will also turn on the downstairs lights for 10 minutes. So we can see this can be as simple or as complicated that you want to make it, and it's a very good way to both see your rules that you've created in real time and to manipulate them to give you the functionality that you want on your system. Elevator Manager allows you to control your levels and the floors within your elevator system. Inputs allow you to obviously manipulate the way that your inputs are set up within the system, what outputs are going to be fired, and what gets logged. Outputs aren't that much different. Outputs, we can see our output, the current status of that output, what options that we want for that output. Does that output follow any door activity? Does that output turn on a certain event or turn off on a certain event? If those functions don't give us the flexibility we need, that's where the rule function comes in to allow us to operate that output under the exact conditions that we need. From our card menu, just like we added an individual user, we can bulk add a group of cards so they can be assigned to users as and when required. So a very easy way to bulk add more than one card at a time. We can also add a whitelist. This list is a list of individuals that have access through those doors at any time of the day, regardless of how the system is set up. If somebody reports a card lost or stolen, we can simply type in that person's name or details and then disable that user immediately. We also have our card editor, which allows us to set up the template for those ID cards that we created, and then associate any field onto that card, so when we print out a card for a particular user, it has their photo, their signature, their name, etc. on their ID tag. We can also run a variety of reports, everything from users to audit trail to time and attendance. Within each of these reports, we have a variety of fields that we can manipulate to give us the report that we desire. Time and attendance is quite an interesting report in this system as well. It allows us to view the login time of any particular day and the last activity on any particular day, and then generate how much time was on site for that individual for the period that we request. So a nice simple way to see firstly who's on site and how long they've been on site for. Under our settings gives us a variety of functionality to set up our system to the way that we need it to operate. So very briefly down here, we can see how our doors operate, whether we're using any lockdown procedure to shut the system down, what our email addresses are, our muster reporting, etc., etc. It goes on quite extensively. And we have two options down the bottom for our mobile access or our Bluetooth functionality, which we have both enabled. Let's have a very quick look at the Act Monitor. Act Monitor gives us a simplified listing of things that, let's say, a guard could either look at or have control over, but without letting them program the system. So a much more straightforward look at the system from a guard's perspective. From there, we can have a look at our sitemap monitor. Sitemap monitor is our floor plans, our graphical display of our premises that's overlaid with our inputs, our outputs, and our doors. We've got here 3 simple maps that show our building, our street view, our overhead view. This shows each of our inputs, so we've got 3 SPC panels. It's showing us all of our inputs on those. It's showing us our doors at the top, as well as our outputs. We drag those across to our map, and from there we can either open or close the door, turn areas on or off of the building, turn outputs on or off, so we can turn our downstairs lights on directly from that. Turn the lights back off. We can open a door. So by hitting pass, it will momentarily unlock that door for people to go through. If we have a look at a zone on our system, our main entry door, we can turn on the alarm system associated with that door, or isolate or inhibit that door from causing any further alarms. So a nice simple way to manage your system graphically. Anything can be used as a background on here, and any of the inputs or outputs or doors can be overlaid on top of the maps that you have here. So that's a very quick look at the way that we can manage, program and operate the ACT enterprise system. Let's now have a quick look at the mobile app. Okay, after we install our app, we can run it and now log on. And we're presented with 4 basic options here. We can look at our doors. We can go to our showroom door, see that it's currently locked. We can hit the pass, put in our code. It will unlock the door momentarily. It will come back and tell us that it's been done, and then indicate that that door has been unlocked with the little green padlock. It will then lock again and go back to normal. We can do a muster report. This will show us everyone who is currently on site. From here, if we know that a person has safe and is removed off-site, we can mark them as safe, and then they'll be removed from our list. We can have a look at our users on the system. We can search for a user. I'm not on site now, I've just removed myself from the site. From there, we can have a very quick view of this individual and where they've been in the last little while. With that user also, from the list screen, we can remove that person from operation. So they now no longer have access to our site. I don't want to upset this guy, he can be annoying sometimes, so we'll put him back in so he's got access. We can look at a full audit trail, and we can see that Jeff was manually logged out, that our output was turned off, that the door was passed, so we can see all of the history directly from our app. If I go back far enough here, we should see all of the access granted as well. So this is a nice app which gives you basic functionality of your system from your phone without needing to be on site.
So Act Enterprise is a full-featured access control system that is easy to install and program, and incorporates the requirements to satisfy any end user's need in relation to COVID-19 compliance. I hope you found this walkthrough informative, and if you require further information, please refer to the show notes below. To stay informed of new videos and contents, please subscribe to this channel and also follow this page. So that's all from me today. So please enjoy your day, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.